Hello, guys. It's Samu Sarka here again, this time from New Zealand, actually. Sorry about the dark picture, but I could not find any more light from this motto, so this will have to do. This time we are having a guest from United States. He's four-time US national champion in rock rolling, two times world champion, and he is known especially from his backpack, which is the owl. He is a great guy on and off the rocks. Please welcome Jake Wright.
Hey, Samu.
Hello, Jake. How are you doing?
Doing really good.
That's good. We can start by opening beers.
Hey, that's a good
Or
time
I will start. It's already 4 p.m. in New Zealand, so why not?
Why not?
Yeah. So, this is how it's gonna go. First of all, we will discuss by two of us, and after the however long discussion it will be, then the possible viewers can ask questions after that, so we can answer them later.
Yeah, sounds great.
Just to let you know, I'm not really sure about the quality of the internet that I'm using now because I'm in motel and there's a Wi-Fi. For now, it seems to be working, but if I'm starting to like freeze or something, that means that it's temporarily bad, and I will come back once I have once it's got better. So don't worry if that happens. It's not gonna stay like that for long. So 2024 it is now. How has the year been for you? Like,
It's been good. It's
RC-wise.
been probably my least busy competing, but one of the most important life changing. We welcomed a daughter this year, so I'm I'm on a whole new journey.
Congratulations.
But thank you. Still getting out and driving some on the rocks when I can.
Yeah, that's good. There's first commentator already. I don't know who this might be, but yeah, it could be from the photo. It could be. I cannot find his name.
Is that Dustin?
Dustin. Yeah, Dustin.
Yeah.
Okay. So, because this is a Clodcast, I have to ask from all the guests that have you ever had a Clodbuster? Tell me a Clodbuster.
So I have. Back in 2007, I built my very first superclass crawler. I had a Clodbuster. I had the Hustler chassis, all the upgrades. I tried to drive it with a stick radio. It was probably about my only time I've ever driven a stick. And it was probably the hardest comp location I've ever been to. It's in SoCal. It's a place called Stoddard. It's this little volcanic bump that all the rocks are just razor sharp. I made it a course and a half, and I tore the rear end out of the car. I broke the chassis. I just demolished the thing, and I've never had another one.
Okay. But you have a history with Clodbuster.
I do. Yeah, it was a very fun car until that day.
Yeah. I also have had one that I made for a crawler, but it was not good. It was not good. And later after that year, the Axial came with the AX10, so that's history after that. So, when was your first, or how did you were involved in RC for the first time? Not necessarily in rock rollers, but in RC in general.
So I got a later start than a lot of people, I guess, that are in the sport. I got my first crawler. I was about 15 or 16 years old. I'd been really heavily involved in the one-to-one crawling scene and happened to see a really cheap car, a little Nylint 18th scale crawler. And just like, this is the coolest thing ever. I can learn suspension. I can drive it on my desk. I can do all these cool things. That was the one. That poor car again saw a lot of damage.
Yeah. Those were the things back in the day.
Yeah, it was
what
it
do
was
you
an
think?
MOA. It was like a 280 motor. It was a piece of junk, but it was so cool. And you could buy one and just go drive. My dad and I take them out to the rocks in our backyard, and we would set
Yeah,
gates, and we would just drive in and out of the gates and figure out what the cars would do.
yeah. Where did you live back then?
Southern California. So I lived out in the high desert in California then.
Yeah. Okay. There's some more comments if you want to read them.
Hey, yeah, thank you.
Time is definitely flying.
Yeah, it's funny to think
Fast.
about looking back on that picture, and that was 16 or 17 years ago now.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
don't want to think
Or
about
even
that.
even
Maybe even more
more
than that.
actually.
Yeah, actually, maybe more
Yeah.
than that.
Yeah. I was thinking that. Yeah, it's been a while. So you got the 180 first, and then what happened after that?
So I drove that poor car till it fell apart, and I decided I was. Oh, then I discovered RC Crawler back in the day. It's kind of an offshoot from the old Pirate 4x4 forum, and wanted to build my own car. So I, went to the hardware store and bought some random aluminum or something, and made a crawler. And again, drove it till it didn't work anymore. There
Is
we
it this
go.
one?
That might be the second car. So that's a piece of aluminum from just from some random hardware store. People are building those stick chassis clodbusters. So I thought, well, I could just stick a transmission in the middle and see what it would do.
Yeah, why not? So there's only aluminum profile or something in the middle, and you have attached the transmission to that then.
Yeah, and that thing's bolted straight to the axle, so there's no up and down. It's just twist.
Ah.
And then the monster stick pack stuck to the servo, and yeah, that was something.
Of course. So if that's not the first, I will have to check the pictures again. Sorry about this. Maybe it's. How about this one?
There we go. Yeah, it's almost there's the genesis of rock crawling there. That little pile of bricks, I would put 2 gates on it, and I can drive in and out of those gates backwards and forwards and figure out. Of course, those cars were terrible, but they were. And you'd start learning what the cars do. Yeah, so that little car on the right would have been mine. That's just some sheet metal. The batteries mounted to the axle. It was the precursor to everything now.
Yeah, but they all looked like that when we built the first one.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you have the nullied axles here, or which axles are these?
Yeah, that's still the 1/18th Nyland. So they had the motor, and the motor I believe was sitting parallel with the axle. Yeah, that's the little tiny motor, and it's with a ring or like a bevel gear to the axle, to the diff gear.
Oh, that's very futuristic.
It is, yeah. It would be a while before we see that again.
Yeah, that's cool. That's really cool because we all remember those times. That of course I have not been in this scene for that long, but I remember the times like from 2005 all the way to 2007 before Axial came with the AX10. So everybody was running the TLT axles and making different kind of chassis and using the Stampede transmission. And
it was a lot harder back then. I mean, you're cobbling together 5 or 6 different cars and cutting pieces with a hacksaw.
Yeah. But it was like very innovative work from the guys back then. It's like crazy amount of different kind of building styles and builds altogether. So there is one more picture, and those axles are still looking like nullied axles.
So I think that was my I guess senior year design project. I was starting to get into engineering and machining and all of that. So I drew that whole chassis and machined the whole thing. had, I think, their little Traxxas links on it. I went out and I broke the gearboxes in about 10 minutes, but that was the first
Yeah.
kind of engineered car that I had, even if it wasn't very good.
Yeah. But you already had those are 2.2 Moab tires.
Yeah, so 2.2 Moabs that had, I think I went out and bought a Novak speed control, so it was an aftermarket speed control driving the Nylint still.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the Moabs were pretty much the only proper choice back then.
Yeah, we had the Moabs and the Mashers for a long time. The Mashers were
Mashers.
The Masher 2000, like the tractor tire sort of thing. Yeah.
Yeah. That worked somewhere and somewhere it didn't.
Yeah, I went back and forth. I don't know if I had a favorite. Probably the Moabs, but
yeah. It's a long time ago. 2006.
That's not even true. The last time I saw one of those tires in person.
Yeah. It's 18 years ago, just to let you know.
Yeah, great. Yeah.
Time flies. So that was when did you start competing? Actually, what was the first competition?
I think my first competition was actually in southern Utah in 2006. I think I happened to see an ad on RC Crawler, and it was the Utah State Championships in like 2006. So I was like, oh, I'll load up my car, I'll bring a sleeping bag, I'm gonna drive out there and go to it.
Yeah. How was it? How was the competition environment?
It was really, really good, actually. There's a few spots. It's a few spots I've been to in Pioneer Park. I'll go back and still drive again. But it was funny. Back then, there wasn't a lot of guys that would travel around for this kind of thing. So they had changed the comp location the night before or the weekend before or something, and didn't really post anything because it was only their local 10 or 15 guys going. So I got there and I drove to the site the morning of, and there was nobody. I'm like, oh man, this is crazy. So I'm driving through town, and St. George wasn't very big back then. I happened to see like a 4Runner or some pickup truck with an RC Crawler sticker on the back of it, and I just cut across traffic and followed the guy. Like he's from the group. I don't know who he is, but I'm following him, and I followed him all the way into Pioneer Park.
Yeah,
and ended up being the event.
Yeah. That's a really cool place, I have to say.
Oh, it's a great place.
Yeah. Tons of good rocks to drive. All those like tunnels and everything you can go through.
Yes.
That's fun. So I'm not sure which picture do I need to show next, but I'm guessing this could be.
Hey, that is the event. Yeah, so that is, I think it's
okay.
That is a TLT. That is still that stick chassis. So there's no traction, but lots of clearance. Mm-hmm. And that would have been 2006 at Pioneer Park.
Crazy.
So the fun thing then is I didn't know anything about knuckle weights or whatever. I had some really fat washers that I just glued onto the wheels. And as the day went along, they would just fly off. So the car got lighter and worse throughout the whole day. You can see the two are missing. I think that picture from the other side, there's still two washers stuck to the wheels. You can see the glue left over. They just rolled off into the rocks somewhere and were gone.
Yeah,
but my only advantage back then is that car had a drive shaft dig. That was the slider. It was built from a few pieces that were glued together with a ring on the drive shaft itself, so it had a servo stuck in the chassis, so I could actually have rear or front dig and shut off the rear all in one shot.
Cool. That's cool. So I'm not sure how
there's
many
the washers
were
there
used.
before I lost them.
Yeah, true. Here,
and they weighed 20 grams. They were nothing, but yeah,
still. Titan motor and
they're big. I think I went through a dozen of those because they were $25. This is before I knew about Holmes Hobbies or anything else. I would burn that motor up and then go get another one from the hobby store, and then I'd buy two because I'd burn the first one up.
Yeah. That's crazy, but it would be so fun to drive with these things, an event with that kind of rigs, and see how awful they were back then.
Yeah, because we had no steering power, and the radios were 27 megahertz, so there were no Spectrum anything or no 2.4. And there we go. Yeah,
it's the same rig, I think.
It is the same one. That's probably getting closer to the event there.
Oh yeah.
The old Proline body and all of that on the kitchen table.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't look that bad from the outside, but
yeah. There were some lines that up until fairly recently that car could make that nothing else I had could make. I think the newest XR10 builds surpassed it, but there was obviously it was terrible almost everywhere. But there'd be a line somewhere that the clearance and everything would make it, and that was it.
Yeah.
I think it had like 4 inches underneath that chassis rail or something. It was really tall.
Yeah. The stick thing, that is something that I have been thinking even nowadays, that maybe somehow it could work.
Yeah, with an MOA, it's a little bit more, I guess, beneficial. It's different. They drive really weird, but then there's some places it would probably work really well still.
Yeah, it would require a lot of training, but you could make it work, I think. Oh. So that was 2006. Then I believe I have some photos from 2007. Right here.
There we go. So I, in the span of a year, I built a TLT and went back to the state championships. I had ran the SoCal series and got a few competitions under my belt, and then went back to Utah in 2007. So this was a proper 4-link car. This was it was Tom, Twisted Tom's chassis back in the day. It was a Falcon. So it was a little bit more modern, battery on the axle. I think I maybe had LiPo batteries by then. And
it looks like it.
It still had the mechanical dig that would, I have to take it apart and clean it every course to make sure it kept working.
But those wheels look like they are from Axial. And those tires are definitely Rocklos.
That that may have even been 2008. Seeing that picture, because I think the Rock Claws were early 2008.
Yeah. No, maybe. Yeah, true.
It may have been 7.
Somewhere there. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But anyways, so 2007. Did you drive any competitions in 2007?
Yeah, so I ran the very first Southern California series out here. I was all over the desert. Went to St. George. Finally got some redemption. I finished all the gates that time around, and I think I even made it to nationals that year. I may not have made it till 2008, I believe. I think 2007 I qualified, but I, for whatever the reason, couldn't get to go, so I was a spectator instead.
Yeah.
There we go. So there's my redemption. So yeah, that would have been the car. So that is 2007.
Yeah.
So those were probably really early production Rock Claws.
Maybe. I can't tell, but the wheels definitely look like Axial.
Yeah, so those are definitely Axial, the old school bead locks and the Rock Claws. Something interesting on that truck also, I believe that was an old Outrunner. I think that's like a Hyperion or some plane motor that was running with a like a Castle speed control. So it was really jittery and really loud, but it was super light compared to anything else at the time.
Yeah. That's cool. So you qualified for the nationals, but you could not make it.
Yeah, I think I went, and there was some technicality. You had to have been top 2 in your local club or something, some weird rule that I got to go and visit and watch, but I don't think I drove in 2007.
Okay. That's weird. Nowadays it has not been like that.
Back then there was 200 people trying to sign up, and it was you had to qualify from your club. There was no extra qualifiers from the other events and all that.
Yeah. I think this is a good spot to make a little side jump for 1-to-1 rigs.
Sure.
So here we have a photo. So Jake sent me photos, and these 3 photos were from 1-to-1 crawling. So what can you tell us from these times?
So this is about the same time I was really learning RC. Was my dad and I traveled all around the country with, this is a Toyota, Formula Toyota, so it's a Toyota rock crawler. Very basic, leaf sprung, super light. But we drove all over the country with that thing, and had a blast. We weren't very good in the beginning, and kind of the more I got into RC, the more I learned vehicle dynamics and how to make stuff work, and then the better we got with 1-to-1.
Yeah.
So that was probably some of the most fun times. At the same time as the really early days of rock crawling of RC, was running around with that Toyota and just going to random taco places in the middle of nowhere and breaking stuff and having parts fall off of it, and just the most fun.
Yeah. So you only drove like rock crawling with this rig.
Yeah. So we did a few years there. That was a pretty epic failure in one of the finals there's about 6 feet of hole underneath the car there, and it was not coming out. It took a few rigs to get us back out, but
that looks problematic over there.
Oh yeah, you could see my dad's giving us the old pirate salute down there in the car. Zoom in, it's there we go. But we're having a great. I mean, that was some of the most fun, just running around with that thing. And we had so little budget that we took a motor out of an RV, and we'd find random broken Forerunners and take rear end parts out of them, and you kind of come together with this car that's got maybe $10,000 in it over the course of a few years, but you get to go and compete against some really high budget teams.
Yeah, that's cool. I'm actually doing the same at the moment. We are building an off-road trick for. We have this off-road trial here in Europe, and the Euro trial or European Championship is coming to Finland, and me and my uncle are doing an off-road rig, and that will consume most of my money for next summer and probably most of the time also. But
that'll be pretty cool.
Fun.
Maybe we'll get to come and see you over there sometime.
Yeah, it's different. It's different when you are not controlling the car outside of the car. It's many of the things are similar, but being inside of the car has its own things. It's very different.
Yeah, it's so nice to be able to be outside and see exactly where every tire is going. And you can jump when you're not worried about it. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm super annoyed because last time I drove one competition last summer, and the helmet is so big that I couldn't get my head out from the driver window.
And you're stuck to the window.
Because it was hitting the roll cage was hitting on the helmet, and I couldn't see a fucking thing. So it's really, really tricky. I have to drive more and learn, but it's fun.
I always thought it was funny was I was a spotter for a long time. Back then, my dad was a lot better driver than I was, and I was a lot better spotter than he was. So it felt a lot like driving an RC car, because I could run around it and look at, this tire is going to do this tire is going to do that. And we're in a headset and I'm talking to him. Of course, I start yelling because the headsets don't work ever. And it's like having a radio that doesn't work. Like I'm telling him to do a thing and he's thinking something else. So it just drives right over a cone because he can't hear me. It'd be like the same as your radio losing signal and the car just going off on its own.
Yeah. In Finland, we are not allowed to have a spotter. We both have to be inside of the car. Yeah. So that makes it different. We had a first competition, and what we learned from that is that we need a lot of mirrors. We need more mirrors because we can't see. Even though it's a little Suzuki, it's still
you get about reach across both sides, but yeah.
That's true, but it's fun. It will be good times.
Sure. Yeah.
Significant amount of money also, but if you compare to RC, if you do it like medium, like cheaply, the RC can still be more expensive if you if you travel a lot and do it properly.
I think for a while there, I had more money in my RC than we did in that Toyota. It caught up, but there was a few seasons there where I think I'd spent more money on motors and on batteries for the RC than I did for the other than maybe fuel for the Toyota.
Yeah. Many people have asked me that how much I use money, and I remember 2014, the year that the Worlds were in the States.
I was in Rhode Island, yeah.
Yeah, and that year I also drove like 3 other international competitions. I used almost 16,000 euros only on that season, so it can be expensive, and all four rigs, top-notch rigs, and yeah, not anymore. I'm not using that kind of money anymore, but the traveling is expensive.
Oh yeah,
but it's every time it has been worth it. So
it's the price for the adventure, and it's always worth it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's good time.
So what can you tell me about this picture? This doesn't look like rock rolling.
So that is not. That is, in fact, John Hall next to me, the 2012 and 24 pro champion.
The hair. Yeah.
There we go. Yeah. So the kind of a last minute, we were driving. He was entered into King of the Hammers, and he needed someone to go along with him that kind of knew the rocks and all of that. So I got drafted in. We had a bunch of trouble getting the car prepped and ready. We showed up super late. So that is on the course. It's during race day there. And we catastrophically rolled. I think that's probably after the fact even. We're heading back to camp. The car is completely destroyed.
Oh.
I think we were running with 3 brakes, and we made it about 60 miles, but it was quite the adventure.
Yeah. That's cool. So what do you think, which year this was?
That would have been early 2017.
Okay, so yeah, it's quite recent then.
So kind of the funny thing there at that with tying back to RC is at one point in our pits we had John and myself, so we had both won titles at that point. We had Joel Gatlin with us. We had I think J Rock, and then Brad Bender happened to wander by, so we had 5 out of the 7 champions or something at that point just hanging out randomly all together.
That's cool. That's many national champions there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So if we go back to RC, you were running. I think we showed the picture already from the rig. Where is it? No, maybe this one is closer to what we are doing next. Any ideas?
There you go. Yeah, see, that's back in the SoCal days when it was a pretty big production. It was a big comp. I think that's still a TLT down in there, but a pretty modern car. I guess it's kind of not the best picture, but that was back in the day. We'd have 100 people at those events, so it was a pretty big deal.
Yeah, actually, that looks like a Losi grappler body. But it's not the Losi, definitely.
I think there may have been a sneaky production Losi there, but I didn't have one yet.
Okay, yeah. But you are already running 2.4 radio.
Yeah, so that was the revelation of a 2.4 radio where the car went exactly where I pointed it instead of just kind of where it wanted to go.
Yeah. Yeah. That was roughly 2008 when.
That sounds about right.
Things change.
Yeah, I did the classic, rookie move a bunch of times with my 27 radio with a big antenna where I'd turn and poke somebody with it or turn and break the antenna off. And
Oh yeah. Been there.
Oh yeah.
Or when the antenna gets loose and the head falls out.
It just falls off. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's crazy. So in 2008 you were at the Nationals in Moab.
Yeah, I made it to Nationals. I think that one was a weird year. The MOAs had just come out, the Bergs.
Yeah.
I did not have a Losi comp crawler yet, so I built a Berg, and I'm not sure what even happened to it, but it was terrible. It weighed like 8 pounds. I think I added a bunch of rear weight to it, and it just did not work at all in Moab, which was funny because I had driven really well in St. George, which was really similar. And I got to Moab, and the car just bombed. I don't remember where I finished, maybe 16th or 17th, but it was pretty rough throughout the whole day.
Yeah. And 2008, I believe there were only 2.2 and super classes. Did you run super at all at that time?
I don't think I had a super yet back then.
Okay. Yeah. Because I've been looking for the results, but they are all getting mixed in my head. I should put them somewhere down, all the results, so I could see. But especially you have been driving so many events that it's hard to keep on track.
Yeah,
where you have finished
mixed together.
Yeah. Any other things to say about 2008?
I think that was the gosh, who won that year? That may have been I think it was the first year I think that the Bergs really came alive. I don't remember if that was Austin or that may have been Zach. Zach that won that one. Yeah, that's right.
I have the info here. Wait a minute. I think 06 was Bender, and then 07 was Austin, and then Zach. Yeah, Zach won 08 in Moab.
Yeah, I think that was that first year that everybody realized those cars were going to be really good.
Yeah, definitely. So, yeah. So he was driving a Berg.
Yeah, he had a Berg, if I remember correctly, and it was the same thing. It was probably, 7 pounds or something, and it just, walked right through everything.
Yeah. Revolution.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you knew it was going to be good.
Yeah. So then we went to 09, and was 09 already time for Losi?
Yeah, so I think we got the Losis in 09, and that was the year we had Worlds. That was at Donner Ski Ranch.
Yeah,
so there we go. That's I joined the team, then got my full custom car and all that.
Yeah. So were you involved on the what's the word? Were you involved on the development of the rig? Sorry.
Yeah, no, I had a hand in it. I got a lot of feedback, and along with Austin Dunn was a big part of that. Jay Robinette was on the team back then, and they actually had a really great engineer back in the day also that had kind of taken some of Austin's and Jay's ideas and put it into SolidWorks, into 3D, and really cleaned it all up. So that was still probably the best suspension layout in a car. I think it was done really well.
Yeah, it was working like really well from the box. The whole rig.
Yeah, they were accurate. I mean, there was so many problems with the gears and the transmission, but the suspension itself was just a really pinpoint accurate car.
Yeah, definitely. And that was the same. No, it was earlier when the Losi got out with the Rocklos, and they were really well behaving really well compared to Moab and all the other tires back then. So I think, let me see, that times there were some other photo also. That this might be even later, but I will show it anyways. So any ideas?
So that's actually at Motorama. That's back in Pennsylvania.
Yeah. And that's 09, or is it
that
already
was 2009 or 2010 even? Yeah, so that was actually the very first prototypes of the Boss Claws of the pin tire.
Oh yeah, that has to be.
There had been a few. I think Bender had made some sets way back before that. There was a few people elsewhere, but that was the first set we had made. And by that point the MOAs were really dominant. So to show up with a Shafty on those kinds of rocks and do really well was kind of an eye opener. I think that everybody was buying and making their own pin tires after that.
Yeah. But I think this This could be 2009 because I look at the Austin's Rick's body. It looks the same as in the world. If I'm correct.
2010. I actually have that trophy sitting on the shelf over there.
Oh,
so
okay.
Early 2010. So, yeah, it is. Can't quite see. It's right there.
yeah. So 2009, there were the first official Worlds in the States, in California. No, was it California? Or
yeah,
Colorado?
That would have been Donner Ski Ranch in California in 2009.
Oh, yeah. And I just look at the results before we started. You ended up 6th in pro.
Yeah, I think I just
almost
missed
to the final.
There was the way they did it then. They had a really weird layout. They had a like a qualifier on I think Friday or Saturday, and then the top 25 drivers went on and drove another couple of courses, and then the top 10 went and drove another one. Then the top 5 drove the final one. So it was this pretty big production. And I just missed the top 5. I got into I had a bad first day and just went on a mission and was finishing course after course until I got to the 25, then the 10, and then I just came up short to get into the 5.
Yeah.
That was probably one of the first events that felt like a really big. We had magazine people everywhere and sponsors everywhere. It was a big show, more so than before.
Live feeds and everything.
Yeah. RC Crawler was there with a video camera, and magazine guys were all over the place.
Yeah, that's cool. And there were also mini class and super class back then.
Yeah, there was a mini.
You drove both. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I had borrowed a super from probably Nabil or somebody. I think I was usually where I borrow rigs from.
Yeah. Do you remember how you did?
I may have gotten into the top 5 with the super and maybe the mini too. For sure with the super. I was probably 4th or 5th or something. And
yeah. No, actually, now that I'm thinking, I will check. I have put the results from that competition.
Hey, I know
in crawler results.
Jay Robinette with the mini back then was excellent. Is still an excellent driver, and I'm pretty sure he won the mini class there.
Yeah, definitely. Let me see if I can share screen. Oh, there. So
there we go.
Where's Jake? No,
not so good with the mini then. Yeah.
21st.
Okay.
Yeah. So that was the first mini competition, like big international.
That may have been, yeah.
Yeah. And then super class. Oh.
There we go. Yeah, I
Randy Storm, James Caruso, nothing. Familiar names.
The funny thing with that one in Superclass is I think they had totaled the scores wrong somehow. So I'm pretty sure I have the trophy for 4th and 5th or 3rd and 4th or something where we all had gone home, then they changed it. So we all just mailed them to each other. But then whatever it was, it may have been to Nabil. I didn't get it. The address didn't go through. So I just ended up with a few of them.
Okay. So, yeah. That was the first Worlds back then, and back then there were no nationals with it, so it was only the Worlds on that year. But then you were, unless you have anything other to say about 2009.
The only other thing I remember from that event is I know that course that I just missed getting into the top 5 on was earlier that year. My dad and I were there with our 1-to-1, and the same climb that stopped us in the 1-to-1. We were, on pace to win that event, and the car would not go up this big rock. If you've been in Donner, that big flat rock, it's 30 feet tall or something. We couldn't get up it. That ended up being our last comp. that stopped us. We fell to third or fourth or something, whatever. We were, looking to win. Then 6 months later, I did the same thing with my Losi, and I couldn't get up that rock, and that cost me a chance at the top 5.
Oh, that hurts.
Yeah, it's like, I know I've been in this place before, and it didn't work then either.
Yeah. So 2010. So you were properly landed with the Losi back then, and I have a picture. Not so usual place, Germany. Tell me what you did in Germany.
So got to go to the, this is, I was a part of the Losi team and got to do some really neat things. This is in the, oh gosh, I'm going to get it wrong. This is in the Felsenmeer, the Stone Ocean in Germany. Yeah. And, really slippery, but just beautiful country and totally different than anything I'd ever done before. Got to spend a few days with some of the drivers over there. A Christian Aggressor was, a phenomenal driver and builder. So I got to meet him and tour around a little bit in Germany and drive with him. So a really neat experience.
Yeah. If I remember correctly, you ended up second.
I think I did. Something happened on the shootout course. I had done really well, and then there was a gate. I think I took, and then I ended up not needing to take it. Like I second guessed myself, and it cost me, but successful nonetheless. I mean, it was more about the journey, but yeah, it would have been nice to win that one.
Yeah, and I believe there were quite a lot of competitors back then as well.
There were. I believe that was another huge event, and 80 or 100 people, and it took over this whole little, almost like a construction site that had rocks all around it. So it was a really big event.
This is actually 1 year before all the Finnish started to go to Germany for Supercross. So we don't know anything about this year, but I remember years and years ago, there were still photos of this event in German forum, and I was looking through them, and I'm not sure, but was it raining a lot on one of the days, or?
Yeah, I think the first day, I want to say it was mini crawler. There was some big scale. Back then, scale was really scale. They were leaf sprung and, Tamiya chassis. And that first day had a ton of rain. So all of the rocks were like individual boulders with tons of mud in between them. Yeah. And by the time we got to the 2.2 day, it was a little bit better. But if you slid off, you were in trouble. So we would kind of all drive weird lines to stay on the boulders and go from boulder to boulder to get to the next gate.
Yeah. That sounds familiar from the years after that. So this year and 1 year after, they were driving on the same location, but when I went there first time, it was on a different location, which was also like I don't want to say rock mine, but it was like quarry where they have taken away the rocks and from these rocks they make like tombstones and everything like that. So they were super slippery and dusty, and when it rained they were muddy, and it was awful, but the competitions were so much fun every time.
Yeah, that was kind of my first experience traveling around with the cars, and I remember bratwursts and beers and some of the things. We were there at the event site, and there was some medieval ruins just above it, kind of on the bluff, and I'm from California. I'd never seen any of this kind of thing before. And what is that? And you're like, oh, it's just some medieval shit. Don't even worry about it. So as soon as the event was over, I climbed up the bluff and took pictures and ran around in it because I could. It was, 2,000 years old. It's like, I want to go see it. This is really neat.
Exactly. We tend to not appreciate them as much as we should. It's easier to see now when you are traveling, and for example, New Zealand, there's nothing. There's only the scenery. There are not old buildings because it has been discovered so late. So having what we have in Europe, it's quite special. But that's a whole different topic, I think. So 2010, Nationals, Disney.
Yes, Oklahoma. Disney.
Yeah. Any memories?
I remember I flew out. This is one of the first events that I probably had. I was on the team. I had a team budget that was a proper thing, and I flew out 4 or 5 days early to practice, and our whole team went.
Oh,
And there was a hurricane in the Gulf that just dumped. I think we had 10 inches of rain the entire time, so I didn't even really get to see the place until the comp day. So I
oh.
remember being there, just flooded out, and just a mess. But yeah, I feel
Yeah,
bad. I've talked down to about Disney for a long time, and I almost want to see it again to see if it's as crazy as I remember, because I remember it being such a rough event.
yeah. Have you been there afterwards?
I've not been since 2010.
Okay. So the Kravla is going every year, so you have to go there one.
I was just looking at that one. I think now that I've got a scaler of all things, so I might have to take a pro rig and a scaler and go down there.
Why not? Why not? So I only had one picture from that competition. It's you running.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I remember, and this was the year that the Losi speed controls had gotten a bad rap with all, good reason. But our team had something like 17 of those things catch on fire over the course of 5 days. And
Oh,
we were just left and right losing cars, and I remember it being pretty bad.
okay. And this was also the year that the XR10 has come, if I believe.
I
XR10
think they were there. I don't know if they were widely available yet. I want to say it was 2011 that they really, or maybe even later than that, they really popped up. No, I take it would have been 2009. Actually, I take that back. Yeah.
Yeah. 2010, there were team drivers already.
That's right. Yeah. So we would have had Brandon and Brad probably.
Yeah.
Maybe Harley.
Correct. And do you remember how you did? Because from this event, there are results, but they are pictures, and they cannot be seen from the RC crawler. So I have no idea.
So I remember I was something like 16th or 17th, but there was the courses. I think the cars had gotten so much better, then the courses really weren't that hard that year. So there was ties for almost every position where, it was only a few points between first and 15th. And then there were some interesting judge calls where, if you were upside down, you would get called penalties on you or something, where it was just different throughout the day. So I think I took a few penalties, and it was a big drop for only a few points.
Yeah. And Austin, I think, won that year.
He did. I believe him and maybe Jeremy Tony or somebody were tied. Because the same thing, I think they had just about perfect scores for the day. And they had to go to a few runoffs to get the winner, and Austin eventually got it.
Oh, that's nerve-wracking when you have done it one time and do it again, and just hoping not to make a mistake. It's different kind of fear. But no, it was not this year. It's the next year when you did really well. Anything else from 2010 that you remember? I don't believe I have any more pictures from that year.
I think that was the big ones. There was the going to Motorama with the pin tire, and then going to Oklahoma and just about burning all of our cars down.
Yeah, those are the memories.
Yeah.
Yeah. So 2011, and if I remember, the nationals were in Las Vegas.
It was Las Vegas. It was Lone Mountain.
Yeah.
There we go.
This rig has something to do with those competitions.
Yeah, so that was I actually believe that was a German chassis. It was a Crawler Keller chassis from back in the day, but it was RC 4-wheel drive, where they bully axles and custom tires, probably from the Beal also, because that's where I got most of my super stuff. And pretty neat truck.
Yeah, looks like it.
It was super heavy, super slow, but really, really good.
Oh, there. No. Yeah, but you were eventually able to take the national champion title with this thing.
Yeah, so that truck, I hadn't driven super very much, so I was really slow with the rear steer, but it was such a new thing after driving pro for so long that I could just put the car wherever I wanted. It just took me a lot of time. So I think I finished more than half the courses with 2 or 3 seconds left, but with a perfect run. So I just come racing out of the course and get out of there with a good score, but I nearly throw it away.
Yeah. But you made it anyway, so.
That was the other big thing happened there was our whole Losi team had imploded. So I was driving for myself and eventually for Axial that year. So that was the
can
first.
See the cap.
No more Losi.
Yeah. So how did you end up doing that?
So the whole team kind of blew up with Losi. They didn't see any future with crawling, and I mean I've had a lot of negative feelings about it for a long time, but I really can't talk bad. I had a great experience with it. Happened to get out of that team in maybe April of that year, and then had a few months with my own cars before I got a hold of Axial and got an XR10 to build for that event.
Yeah. Okay, so how did you do with the XR10 on that year?
I think I was about the same 10th, 12th, kind of right around the top 15. I didn't know how to drive an MOA at all by then. I had driven a Losi for so long and a Shafty in general.
It's so different.
I remember having some events. That was also my first year. I got sponsored with Futaba and got hooked up with those guys. So, but I had never had mixing in a radio before, so I would keep turning it down instead of doing anything else. So I'd get to a point where I'd have like 40% rear motor and it just wouldn't go, and I didn't know how to fix it on course.
Yeah, it takes time to learn.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that's 2011. Did you also drive Mini on that year, or?
I'm pretty sure I had a Mini also. I think I actually had a bodyless little Mini that did okay. I think I won the overall that year, so I was probably 5th or 6th in Mini. I know I won Super. I think I did well enough with the Pro to get the combined score there.
That's cool. Yeah, you won the overall. That was also the information that I could find. So yeah, you must have been doing good on the other classes as well.
Yeah, that place. Kind of funny story also, where our daughter was born. It was a big high-rise hospital. From our window, I could see across Vegas to Lone Mountain. I could actually see that comp location. So I watched the sunrise. Like, hey, I know that rock. I've been there before.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was pretty funny to see.
Yeah, and I remember when I was talking with Nabil on the Clodcast, and he also said that he went back to there recently, and he was wondering how the hell did you have a competition on so steep hill as it was. And the pictures already look steep, but the pictures are lying all the time, so it must have been.
I remember a lot of bloody shins and broken cars and stuff from cars tumbling. That was rough.
That's scary. Okay. So, anything else from 2011?
I think that was kind of the for me. That was the the start of really where I am now. Still is the rise of the the XR10 based car, and that was really it. Set up the next. I didn't have a very good car back then, but it set up the next. I guess now 15 years of driving. So.
Yeah, imagine that.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah. Crazy amount of time. So, I will quickly put a countdown on because I have to go to toilet. The beer and I will get a new one, and we will be back in 30 seconds.
Great.
So, see you soon. I'm back. And the viewers are still here, so that's good. Need to grab another beer. So,
Perfect.
I thought 30 seconds would be enough, but
it goes pretty fast, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, 2012. I was struggling because I found pictures, but I didn't find any from you. Of you, sorry. 2012. Let's see what happened. Well, the Nationals were in Cherokee Rock Village in Alabama, at least. Anything you want to share from that adventure?
Yeah, that was again, it was a really cool comp. All those East Coast events or South events are always so much fun. That was the year, I believe, Joel Gatlin and myself went into the finals 1 and 2, and we just completely bombed and left 4th and 5th. That was the year, I believe, Yoshi and John Hall were super close. And I remember there being a weird judgment call or something, because we had all thought Yoshi had won it, but John ended up getting it.
Yeah. Yoshi was telling me about this, that he still doesn't agree about what was happening, but yeah.
Yeah, I vaguely remember driving that one. I think that was that event. We drove the shootout in the dark, just about.
Yeah.
So it was really hard to, like, I'm pretty particular. If I come out of a gate, I want to know where the next gate is and where I'm going, and I want to get there in a hurry. So to come out and have to follow somebody's flashlight or somebody's headlamp, I didn't have my own, in hindsight.
Oh, yeah.
I remember just, being completely lost on course and, burning up 5 minutes before I even knew it.
Yeah, and I remember I have seen the videos, and it was not easy course.
Yeah, I think it was a pretty rough course on top of that.
Yeah. And there were you, Joel, Yoshi, John, and then Eric Deluxe.
Oh, was it? Okay, I could remember the 5th one there. Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah, because there is a finals video from this event, I think, in YouTube. But yeah, you ended up 4th or 5th?
4th or 5th. Yeah, Joel and I were 5th and 4th or 4th and 5th. I forget. Yeah.
Yeah. And I remember from this event, the rock rolling scene in Finland I got involved properly on 2012, and I was looking at the videos from YouTube that were coming throughout the day, and we were looking at the results that you are getting like over 100-point negative scores. That what the hell is happening there?
I think that about that time they started really having these bonuses where you could have a gate and then a bonus and a gate. Like every gate had another bonus with it. So if you drove really fast, you could have some really, really low scores.
Yeah, and then there were repeat bonuses also.
That too.
That you could run the same bonus after each gate.
That was kind of
a lot of running
to keep track of. Yeah.
What did you think about these when you were driving?
Back then I liked driving fast, so it was fun, but I don't remember focusing on gates nearly as much as you do now. So I think it took away from some of the technical aspect. It's because it was a little bit easier. None of the bonuses were very hard, but they were spread out. So it was kind of almost rock racing to get to it.
Yeah. I remember that. I also liked it because I was good at it. I was good at driving fast, but then again, if you think about it, it's not rock rolling if it's like point and only just driving fast on a level ground. And it already takes, for someone like Nabil, it's impossible to drive that fast from one gate to another. So it wasn't good, and I'm pretty glad we are not doing that anymore.
Yeah, I definitely I enjoy it a lot more now. Like I still appreciate a good jump gate or something here and there, but I don't really want to run a long way. I think jumps are just another skill to have, but the easy gates that were just spread out really wasn't as challenging.
Yeah, exactly. Do you remember on 2012 did you run any other classes, or was the Pro only one?
I did. In fact, I borrowed a really nice Super. I had Jeremy Tony's Super back in the day, and it was kind of a bummer. I started out. There were two courses that kind of crisscrossed each other, and I was the first driver of the day on those courses with the Super. And I started into half of one, and somehow got turned around and drove the half of another course before anyone knew it, and I think I ran a perfect score. The judge came running up, or the marshal or whatever, and stopped me and had me do it again. So I waited a driver and ran again. And the next time through it, after already running it nicely, I flipped off the rock and broke the truck. So it went from a it was one of those with all the bonuses. So it was a -100 something to a positive 28. So by then I was pretty frustrated because it was one of those that circumstance, random things happen.
Nothing you could do about it.
Yeah, and I was so far behind. I fixed the truck and just went on a mission and did every single bonus I can do after that, and just about got back to first. I think I got second or third, but I think we even canceled the shootout that year because it was getting dark. But I had made up all those points and just barely missed the first place with this. It was such a cool truck. It was one of those TIE Fighter. Yeah, and it was I want to say it was an early super agent, but it was a TIE Fighter, like a 4-pound truck with tons of steering, and
that's cool.
Probably a $4,000 or $5,000 truck that was just absolutely ridiculous compared to what I had. And it was neat. It was fun to drive. Cool. Like, it was one of those. I'm not sure where that truck even ended up, but it was something else back then.
Yeah, I was also trying to think. I don't know where it is. Can't remember. But yeah. And mini class, did you have it?
I think I did run mini. I may have done pretty well with that. Not sure if it was that event or if it was ECC that same year at in Alabama, but I think I did pretty well with the mini.
Yeah.
By then, those trucks, we'd kind of made a game out of making the mini. Since they were so light and so hard to drive, we just made them really fast.
Okay.
And it made it even harder. You could get in trouble and just grab the throttle and jump over things if you had to. So it wasn't good, but they were fun. They were really fun.
Yeah. Mini class has changed a lot since those days.
Oh yeah, no, they were pretty hard to drive, but they were they were fun little trucks.
Yeah, exactly. They were fun, but nobody was taking them seriously. I don't.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, 2012. You mentioned ECC. Have you run many ECCs before?
I've been to a few. I think that was the year I actually won ECC. That was the first year I really kind of figured out how to drive an MOA. It was that ECC.
Okay.
And I think I made up a ton of points in the shootout to come back and get that one.
And you were running the Secret Agent.
I think that was right before. That was actually a CDW, Crawler Design Works chassis from Rob back in the day.
Okay.
I think I had joined Jeremy's team, but I hadn't built the truck yet. I think I joined the team like a week or two before that event. Didn't finish it. So that was my old CDW car. That was just a really stable, really kind of neutral car.
Yeah. So I think this would be the next next
one.
year.
Yeah, there we go.
So that's not the Secret Agent. No.
That is the CDW car there.
Yeah. For a while it looked like a Secret Agent. Yeah,
they're pretty close. That still has the aluminum chassis base underneath. I still have that chassis actually. That's still around. I was kind of jealous watching Yoshi's video. He's got everything on the shelf still, where I don't. Most of my cars didn't survive, a year worth of me driving them.
I know the feeling, yeah. But
that really, those were kind of the base of the modern car. Now that's pretty similar to what I'm driving now.
Exactly. I was just thinking when I saw John Hall's car from this year, the Pro Rig, that it looked exactly the same as it was in 2012.
Yeah.
And that tells a story about the development and need for new upgrades. You can still do quite a lot if you have the driving sorted. So yeah, they have not gone too much since these times, I don't think.
Yeah, I think there's kind of a limit, which is neat because of the size of the car and the limitations of the tire and all that. There's only so much you can really do with this platform. They're really good, but there's only I think we're almost to the limit there. What's possible?
Exactly. Yeah, I have to ask now when I saw the servo here, the Futaba. Do you still have it? Is it still running?
Not the same one. That one made it another 3 or 4 years. I finally popped a gear set in that servo and I retired it. And I still run Futaba. Still love my Futaba servo. But that was probably BLS 157 or something like that. And that made it a long time.
Yeah. Because I bought 4 of those and I have still 3 of those. And not in the rigs, but I retired them last year. And I bought them in 2012. So they are really, really tough servos.
Yeah,
they were getting slow after 10 years.
Which is a pretty good life for what we do to a car.
It is.
It is. A year or two. Any more than that, I'm pretty happy.
Yeah. So, 2013, Watson Lake, Prescott, Arizona, Nationals. That's where we met the first time.
That's right. Yeah, I was trying to figure out. I know you hadn't been around too much before. That's another really cool location with the lake there, and it's such great rock.
It is. How did you do? I believe. Were you in the finals?
No, so that was the very first year I developed the carbon rear end, the Nemesis rear on my car.
Ah, yeah, true.
And I had spent an entire summer figuring out how to make it work. It's some pretty unique stuff in that thing. It's aluminum gears. It's a one-piece, titanium shaft. So I would build it, and then it wouldn't work, so I wouldn't drive for a week. I'd go back to work. That's when I started being a machinist. So I'd go and make new parts and try it again. I finally figured it out maybe 2 or 3 weeks before that event had started. So I hadn't driven all summer. I knew the car was really good, but I hadn't had any time on it at all. So it was vastly different than I had ever driven before. I want to say I was, again, 10th or 15th or something, not quite close enough.
Yeah.
It was just
top 10 went to finals.
Yeah, I was really light. I might have been 11th or something. I was pretty close, but really different car, really light. That was really the start of the really, really light trucks. Like I knew the potential was there, but I didn't quite have it figured out yet.
Yeah. And what else? I was about to tell something from the event, but I already forgot. The pro class.
Year, if I remember right, in the pro class, there was just a downpour in the shootout.
Yes.
Where it was just an absolute mess. And I don't even know if anybody finished the course, but that was the year Joel won it. And he had a fantastic day the whole time. But and he is another, if you haven't looked at that car, I know you have, but if anybody else hasn't looked at that car, Joel's car is just such a cool piece. It's so many handmade machine pieces on it that you couldn't buy that thing, but it's
now when I remember, the level of the driving was stupid. It was like really, really high. You could not make any bigger errors. You can't even nowadays, but when there were like 100 drivers, it's crazy. Even with my one DNF, I was instantly below 30 or something like this.
Yeah, I think there were some years there that it was nearly a perfect score to be in the top. You'd maybe have a gate or two or miss a bonus or something through the whole day.
Yeah. Did you, or you did run also sporty? How did you do in sporty?
I think I did okay in sporty there. I have made it into the top 5. I don't remember that truck very well. It was I want to say that was a Y-Town truck by then, but it was a pretty early build for me. I know most of that summer was I had a long commute from my job, so I would pull off and make notes of what I wanted to change on the pro, and I didn't drive a whole lot that whole year until nationals.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. If I remember correctly, could you have been even on the podium? Yoshi won. I know that much, but
I may have been then. I was pretty close. I think that was a good drive still.
They didn't run finals because it went dark, but I think you were pretty close to the podium.
Yeah, actually, it does sound right.
Yeah, and this I have to share it because we were running the supers and mini on Sunday, where I did really well with the stupidly heavy super bully, and I had already driven all the courses since most of the drivers were watching the pro finals when it was raining. I was driving the supers at that time, and I had already finished all the courses, and I was like, let's see how we do, and I already knew that I beat Manu, which is
that's good, yeah,
already, and then a few hours after you came down on the rocks, and we did not speak before this, and you just said me, hey man, you did really well. I heard you won the super, and I was like, oh, okay, let's see, because you are the guy that we have looked from the videos when we started, and I have been like 2010 I was 18, but before that we have looked at the videos when you were driving with the Losi and stuff, and you were like a crawling god for us when we come. First time in the States and then doing so well, it was epic.
That's really cool. I remember that day. I remember it being so wet and slippery, and I was actually driving a rig from Casey at an XR10 Super. I think we may have both been there driving the same car, and it was, I think I dunked it in the water a couple of times. I broke gears. It was really rough.
Yeah, and there was this one bonus on one river going up.
Yeah.
And there was water coming down. I actually made it, and it was super fun to drive on these conditions. Yeah, and I also took the mini, which was pretty cool. Even though there was after the event, there was like, I don't remember who was the second, but he claimed that he had a better score from one of the courses, but he didn't have the scorecard anymore, so that could not be checked. So we never know.
I feel like there was always some kind of drama back then. People's scores would blow away, or
and then they were with
the ball, and it was always hard.
Yeah, but yeah, 2013. Anything else that you remember?
I remember the very first course with pretty much the first time I had driven the carbon rear end car. I think I was on a live stream with Harley, and I remember just laughing because the car was so good, but it was so out of control that I didn't know what it was going to do. Like, I could just feel it that it was where I wanted it to be, but it was so new to me that I remember, I think I stopped on course. I'm like, I don't even know what I'm doing. Let's see if I can't finish this course and like salvage some points.
Yeah.
It's fun to try to find that stream now. I bet it's out there somewhere.
Yeah, I remember it. He was doing the live streams from a few of the drivers. Yeah. But those were good times.
Oh, yeah.
Long ago, but good times.
One of those events that, we had so many guys like you guys coming over, and, the Japanese team was there, the Germans were there, and everyone's camping in that big campground. So it's, all the shenanigans and the go fast cars, and that was a time you really couldn't repeat now. I think it was pretty cool.
Yeah. It's different nowadays, but let's say we are better now than we were like a few years ago when there were even less drivers. So it has gone better ways since then. So 2014 was the time for another Worlds in Rhode Island.
It's Rhode Island, yeah.
Yeah. And I believe I have scores here. Do you remember which classes did you do?
I probably ran at least pro and sporty, maybe even mini. Definitely pro and sporty.
Yeah. Not super, at least.
I don't think I had a super back then. I had a habit of either borrowing one or building one and selling it pretty quickly.
Yeah, you did not run mini either, so.
Okay, that sounds right.
Yeah. So, Sportsman. That was the first day, I believe. Let me check. Sportsman, the courses were brutal. I was there as well, and there were 4 courses, and they were really tricky. Especially one of the courses where I think only one may have finished.
Yeah, I remember that being one where it was you almost had to back through gates and really strategize what you were going to take. And,
yeah, there was one stupidly tricky course. No, not that picture. Let me see if I can. I usually have a mouse, like a separate mouse, but I'm using the laptop mouse, and I absolutely hate it. So. No, not there. Stop, and then because I was trying to save space and weight for my luggage, and I did not bring a mouse. There. You can see over there. So that's the sporty. So you were second. After all.
Yeah, so that's the one. I feel like it's happened to me in sporty where I maybe didn't have the best car, but I was really comfortable driving the Shafty, and I would run up against somebody who had just the most amazing car. It's happened multiple times. I remember Dan, we called him then.
Yeah.
One of the Japanese drivers just had an absolutely ridiculous car with a motor mounted on the front end, and it was so good that there was no way to compete against it.
I had one of those year after this, and I can tell you it was stupidly easy to drive. It didn't do any torque twists or anything. It was so planted on the rocks. It's ridiculous.
That and having there you go. Yeah, having the skill to keep that thing alive was cool.
Yeah. I'm there as well. 6th
You're right there. Yeah, that was pretty close.
Not too bad. Not too bad. I remember I got out from the finals by 1 point to Troy, so it was annoying, but I fixed it for the next day, which is here. So the pro. Anything you remember from that?
Yeah, I feel like back in that time, I would always have one course where, whatever the reason, I'd make a mistake on it, and it would cost me, and I try to make it up for the whole rest of the day. I'm looking at that course 3 there, where it was, I gave away 32 points to Manu, and him and Joel and myself drove together all day, so we would just go through. There was, many a course that had nobody finished on it when we rolled up to it. We would go, -50, 1, 2, 3, back to back. We just drive through it, and we're on pretty good day.
Yeah.
That was the
I can't remember the course 3. Which was it? Can you remember where was it?
It was. It's hard to describe. It was. When you walked up to the rocks, it was the right-hand side over the ocean.
Yeah.
It had a couple of breakovers that didn't look bad, but they were enough that if you didn't hit it hard, you would immediately slide into the gate, if I remember correctly. So you drive through it, but before you even knew, you'd hit a gate or 2 or 3, and it went really quickly.
Okay, yeah.
And I'm pretty sure we probably ran that one first, so I started off, probably a little too shaky, probably had an energy drink or didn't sleep the night before, and then immediately had 2 or 3 gates, and then spent the rest of the day trying to catch back up.
Yeah. And am I right to say that you were 5th going to the finals?
I think so. Up until recently, I usually had a pretty good run in the shootouts where I'd kind of go into it with somewhat cavalier attitude where whatever happens, and I would, I guess drive more relaxed and make up a lot of points in the shootout.
Yeah, and you did on that occasion. Ridiculous score, -80. Was it like maximum or?
I think it was maximum. I may have missed a bonus that might have been it. I don't remember for sure, but it was one of those that I finished it with a handful of seconds left because I think I got everything I could out of it. Just go back and get another bonus, go back and get another bonus, and
it was stupidly good. I remember watching you going first, taking full house points or whatever it was, one bonus missing. It was this is nice to go after him.
I remember that location was super cool too because it was like an amphitheater. So all of there goes Joel, and hey, you're in the background there. That shootout course had all the fans or all the other drivers sitting around the top of the robots. They're looking down on this big section with everybody in it driving.
Yeah. It was good times. That was one of the picture. I'm trying to think which course this was, but can't remember that well. There were so many courses next to each other.
So many gates, yeah. This
was from the finals. Yeah. That was a nice drop.
Yeah, I remember there was, I think there was a line that was kind of intended was to go across up and out to the right, or it was to take a reverse and go down through the backside. But I was in a hurry, so I just turned and dropped off the cliff and then went off the next cliff after that.
Yeah, true. But the next gate after this was the tricky climb that Joel couldn't make after like 2 minutes, and you made it from the first try, if I remember. Stupidly easy looking.
One of those. I remember that gate well. It was a kind of an angle. You had to get your front tires into it and then dig, and while you were letting off or while you're steering back, click back into 4-wheel drive, so the car kind of popped up with it as it went, and you had a little tiny window to make it right. Exactly.
Tricky, very tricky. And I remember you were having a wider rig, and it was a lot easier than for me when I was trying to get the rear back into the ditch. It was rolling over all the time.
That's right. Yeah, because you ran quite a bit narrower back then.
Yeah. I still run really narrow, but there are advantages. And
it definitely helps in places.
Yeah. So 2014. Yeah, so you did pretty well after all, but not the win, not this time either. So
yeah, I feel like I've been
waiting.
I've been so close in so many different. I've had every manner of rig failure or judge call or just plain screwing up a course at the end of the day or the beginning of the day. Where I've been there or thereabouts a lot more times than I won it.
Yeah, and you have to be the most driver who has done the most finals. You have been always there.
I think Joel was close for a while there, but I think I've done more now.
Yeah, definitely. So, anything else from 2014? I meant to ask from the Recon G6 competitions throughout the years. Somebody did ask from me that you have to talk about the fixes or the long distance.
Those are something else. It's such a different experience to drive a truck for that long. Or you're driving careful, but you're going fast, and then it's you start out at 7 or 8 in the morning, or 8 or 9 in the morning, and before you know it, it's lunch, and you feel pretty good. And then there's Parker will throw up a crazy challenge, and then it's 2 or 3 in the afternoon, and your legs are already dead, but you have to drive 6 or 7 more hours. The very first one I did was in Logandale in Nevada. And I'd driven all day. I wasn't in very good shape, so I was pretty beat to the point of almost hallucinating by the end of the day. And I was by myself. I was behind this big rock where I was nobody else out there. This is after dark, so maybe 8 or 9 at night. And it was the night of one of the first satellite launches. I'm not sure if it was SpaceX or somebody else. But then there's this giant light from the coast, and we were several hours away from it, but you could see it. And it just looked like a spaceship. So I'm already tired. I've had a high heart rate and no food for 10 hours. And then there's this spaceship that comes over the hills, and it's just the craziest experience ever. And I get back to the pit tent, and everyone's freaking out because they saw it too. And I'm like, you guys saw it too? Okay, I'm glad it wasn't just me because I don't know what's going on. Those are really cool. I'd love to do another one. I haven't been for a few years. I've been overseas a few times, got to race in Austria, and some of those guys were just ridiculously strong. But
yeah. It was, now I remember Daniel asked me that how did you like Erzberg in Austria?
Oh, so cool. It's it's a legendary place. I've grown up watching the hare scrambles over there and stuff. So getting to go and see it in person and then try to racing with those guys was hard.
Yeah.
We all went. I mean, obviously Lucas and Chris were super strong, but I think we all went well over 25, 30 miles, and it was something else.
It's crazy. I have never done that, but I would like to do it one day. I don't have a rig for it, but I could do it.
You could build it pretty simple. Actually, just the other day, Casey and I were talking about trying to figure out, what's the next step for a 12-hour car. Make it easier to work on, easier to change the batteries. You really can't go that fast without hurting the car because it's such a long day. But
yeah,
I don't know. It would be a cool one to do again. It's a neat experience.
Yeah. How big batteries did you run?
I think the last ones I did, I ran 4,000 or something, and then you were limited according to the rules. You can only have 3 batteries and only one in the car at a time. So you're constantly planning how to charge and keep. When one comes out, you throw it on the charger immediately and get the next one going. So by the time your next battery's done, it's ready. So you charge. You're just constantly, managing everything all day.
Yeah, it's different kind of event, but it has many interesting things in it. So I could. I'm not sure if I like the way the course looks, like kind of too easy. So you have to be really fast, or is it tricky?
It depends. Some of the ones in California, like at Horseman Center, were quite a bit harder. Erzberg had a lot of elevation gain, but it wasn't really technical. There was a few spots, but it was really fast. So the guys who were stronger runners, obviously they would have done well anyway. They were good drivers as it is, but having a faster course made it. They put a lot more ground on me.
Yeah.
Well, Chris did beat me at Horseman, so I'll give him that. He's a good driver too.
Yeah. True. Yeah. I was thinking that I will have Parker on one of these Clodcasts at some point. That I will have to ask.
That would be a good time.
I think one episode is not enough. So
just you can pick an era and you'll get plenty of stories out of them. That'd be great.
Yeah. And I have to ask if we do a Recon G6 in Finland or something. We would have a lot of really cool places for that.
That would be neat.
Yeah, maybe someday. So 2015, there were worlds in can't remember.
It would have been Logandale. Actually where that first G6 was. Logandale, Nevada.
Yeah. So, that was the comp where the temperatures were ridiculous.
I remember it being well over 100 Fahrenheit, and at the end of the day, running into tapped out Matt, who commented a minute ago. I'm pretty sure he was in his underwear in the hotel because he just couldn't breathe, and it was so hot.
Yeah.
And I'm from the desert, and I grew up in it, and that was still pretty rough.
Yeah. Not so many shades.
No.
And the Red Rock definitely doesn't cool you down or anything.
No, you get into the canyons and it was even hotter and even worse.
Yeah. Do you remember how you did? I think you ran
got
sporty
into
or pro.
Maybe third. I ran pro and sportsman. Not sure if I had anything else there. I may have had a mini, but probably not by then. One of those. It was just such a hot day that I think I had one course where I went into it tired and overheated and made some mistakes. Then the usual had to come back in a shootout and try to make up a ton of points.
Oh yeah. I could not find any. I know the positions, but I could not find the points because they were in RC Orva website, which doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah.
So that was back when John was handling everything. But yeah, I remember Shafty, you were definitely on the podium. Second, maybe?
Yeah, I think I might have gotten both then. I was probably top 3 in Shafty and in Pro.
Yeah, because J-Rock won the Pro. And
he won Pro. I take that back. I was running in fact, it was probably axles I'd used in that G6. I had an AR60 Sporty, and the front output bearings completely disintegrated on the diff in the shootout for me. So I remember it was one of those. I was like 4th or 5th. It was one of those courses that had a bunch of bonuses, and about halfway through the course, the front end wasn't really doing anything anymore. So I was just holding it full throttle, and it was so hot and bound up because the pinion was just moving back and forth in the axle. So I remember I got through the course. I don't think I finished it, but it completely smoked that car. The motor, I think, was dead at the end of it, and I bounced to 4th or 5th. I think Paul won that.
Yeah, Paul won.
Yeah.
The Canadian. Okay. Yeah. So hot memories from that event.
Yeah. That and the best part of that, outside of that, running that rock, was I remember John Holmes Hobbies had a little girl's bicycle that he had put an electric motor in, one of whatever his motors he was making. So we were racing that thing for time around the pavilion, around this little like mini bike course around the pavilion. And I wasn't in very good shape, and I was pretty heavy back then. I remember coming into a corner too fast, and I couldn't stop, and just launching that thing off the side of it and just tumbling off the off the off the sidewalk and down the hill on this little girl's bike that was like a 20-inch, little kid's bike.
Yeah, I remember the videos. There were videos.
Yes, it was good.
Yeah,
another one of those. I'm surprised we survived as well as we did. But
yeah. So 2015. That was really the year that the scene altogether went a bit. It was going down after that, or after already actually 2014. There were not so many drivers.
Yeah, that was a lot less of the international drivers, a lot less of the media and sponsors and that kind of stuff. Maybe combination of the market and less parts and just everything happening at the same time.
Yeah. But in 2016, you ran the Worlds in France. The first Worlds in Europe. How did you like the event?
That was a really cool event. I mean, looking back on it, I think a lot of the European events have done better than the US events in really making it a full, experience where there's catering, there's a really neat destination, there's a lot of things outside of great competition and great courses that really makes it fun. So I remember the big banquet halls there overlooking the coast, and kind of getting to spend time with everybody in this little village and all that is really cool.
Yeah, it was fun. It was bad for the liver, but it was really fun.
Yeah. I'm not sure how you focus after all that, but it was getting to spend. I wouldn't trade results for the stories and the time out of that. That's so cool.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. But results were pretty good, as we can see from the picture.
I certainly can't complain. That was a really good day.
And you had, again, one of the most amazing final courses ever.
Yeah, that video, I always look back on that. That was such a cool course. There's very few I've gotten to drive a course exactly how I wanted to, and then get it captured in such a great video that you see everything. I remember a lot of gates and a lot of stuff from over the years of how the car felt, but getting to see it in a video and kind of that'll always be a neat memory.
Yeah, definitely. And I don't have such good memories about the final.
True.
But your driving was on point on that course, but it was so tight.
We were all really close, I think, going in, and then there was that one gate. I remember gate 5, 6 something that was kind of a little weird skip jump across that.
Yeah.
And it's one of those I I tried it again after, and I couldn't do it the same way I did. But you happen to just roll up to it and not really think, and just jump across it and do it right in the in the scope of the course, and that was it.
Yeah, I went straight in. I went straight in, and then I think I went straight in, and I was stressing, and I ate the gate, so I was already 20 back from that. But other than that, it went pretty well. But I remember Deluxe breaking the rig to that crack also.
Yeah, he had built such overbuilt stuff. I feel like once he fell into a hole, it was just full throttle, full everything, and something's got to give.
Yeah, exactly. So that was the Pro, and then you were driving Mini also with the old Losi.
Yeah,
Do I have the scores?
That was back when the minis were starting to be something besides a Losi. There was a little bit more conversions out there, so that little Losi looked tiny and everything. But I think I did okay. I want to say it was top 5.
Let me see. Over there. 4th.
Oh, there we go. Yeah.
Yeah, not too bad. Not too bad. But yeah, there were only 3 courses in Mini because of the torrential thunderstorm during the night. We had
that's right.
Make the day shorter. And do you remember from the Sporty and Pro days the ridiculous times to wake up for course building?
Yeah, I remember going out there, and I think I walked from somewhere into those rocks that it was dark, and I walked some other street, didn't know where I was, and then the sun started coming up, and then I was running, and it was such a pretty area though. You get out on the coast and like, well, I don't know where I am, but it's pretty nice anyways, so maybe it's okay.
Yeah. And you had a lone super also. You ended up.
I did. I had Marshall's XR10 Super Oompy from Backyard Boys. That was another Whitetown car.
Yeah.
That I think I broke pretty badly throughout the day, but it worked well enough.
Yeah. 60 is not too bad considering the level. It was pretty okay. Then as you can see from the scores, the courses were not easy.
Yeah, I don't remember. I guess I finished 1 out of 4, that's pretty rough. Yeah.
Yeah, there is actually now when I look, course 3, only 1 has finished, so tough stuff.
Yeah, So I'm excited to get into Super again. I think it's been a while. I probably need to do some more driving.
Yeah. That's the best class in my opinion. And the Sporty, we all remember who won because the Stefan, his performance was so ridiculous and the rig was so planted. And
yeah, it's another one that kind of reminds me of 2014, where he was so good and that car was so good that I drove really well and I wasn't even close.
Yeah, exactly. The same for me. And this guy was running the Pro with the same car, the Shafty, without digs or anything. At the end, ended up 17th out of 80 drivers.
Yeah, and that's in a pretty strong field. Yeah, I remember that car. I drove it. He let me drive it after the fact, and it was so easy to drive and so good that and he was good with it on top of that. So that was neat to see.
Yeah, it was just too bad that this was his last competition so far. So.
I didn't know that.
We have because he's living in French Guiana in South America, so it's not that easy to fly around here. And I think he quit altogether.
No, that was one of the more impressive drives I've ever seen. That was definitely cool.
Yeah. I beat him with previous years in Eurocrawl in the MOA Shafty, so I can be proud. Barely, but I beat it.
I have to give credit where credit's due. It's I've done this long enough that I feel like if I have a good day, I'll probably win, if not be really close. And that was one of those days I had an excellent day and I wasn't even close to second, but it was a long ways off. So I have to applaud that.
it makes you feel sad. Because
I was sad, but also impressed. I
and
mean, yeah.
yeah. And then again, if you think that you have done the best you can, and there's
That's
nothing
all
more
you
you
can
can
do.
give it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy. So yeah, 2016. Anything else from that year? Was there like bigger events in 2016? Of
I
course,
think
Arizona Summer Shootouts
Summer
have been there.
Shootout and some of those. That's kind of when I was starting to get into the G6s and the Ultra 5K and some of those races that were, that's about the same time I raced King of the Hammers and kind of went down that road
Yeah.
for a few years. I didn't drive competition as
Mm,
much. Still driving cars, but not maybe not
yeah.
as much
Yeah.
with the competitions.
Yeah. True. And 2017, there were nationals in states. They were in Utah, maybe.
Was that maybe Wendover? I don't think I made that one.
Maybe, yeah, Wendover. Yes, true. Let me check the results. If you are not in top 3, that means that you are probably not there.
I was not there. Yeah, about then is when I got
Yeah,
into
no.
racing and kind of went through some life changes and all of that. So I didn't really travel as
Yeah.
much for a little while.
Yeah, so Jeremy Keys has won the pro.
Okay.
Yeah, and Jason Moreland super overall.
Yeah, Jeremy is was another stick radio guy. I remember him driving a deluxe car, just with full sticks, kind of like John Hall.
Yeah, that's true. And also 2018, there have been nationals in Cape Elizabeth, Maine, but you have not been there either.
Yes, that's where we went back to, I think, more recently, was up in Maine.
Yeah, it was the Worlds last year. But yeah. Anything else you remember from these 2 years?
No, I think that was that was more. I kind of parked the comp trucks and was doing. I got really big into distance running and some of that stuff. So the pro trucks I'd kind of pull out and do some local events, but that was about it.
Yeah. So we have to skip them and go to 2017 Sparks Nevada has been the Worlds.
There we go.
And 2019 Wendover.
Utah. That was Wendover. And there may not have been anything it was 18 Australia. I've got a gap there. I don't have much memory of.
There is a lot of Nabil's name on this top 3.
It sounds about right.
Sheet. He made a return back then.
Yeah, I think he had a few years away from the sport, then came back with a vengeance.
Yeah, and then of course 2020 and 21 are the black years that we don't want to discuss. So much stupid time lost in there, and also a few friends, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's tough.
Yeah, we don't want to go back there, so let's skip to 2022, where you have been in Cook Butts in California. The Nationals.
Yeah, that place is it's pretty special to me. It's where I learned to drive a car. It's where I learned to rock crawl in a 1-to-1. I hadn't been. I'd moved away from California by then, so I hadn't been in years. But to go back to it, I hadn't really driven professionally, pro or sporty for a number of years. Going back was a really fun weekend. I actually, borrowed a sporty and then ran my pro and did really well, as you could see.
Yeah, this is sporty. That's a pretty convincing run with the loan car.
Yeah, that was another one of the high altitude performance. Actually, I guess that was my car then. It was Casey's build and everything, and it was out of the box. It was so good. That was probably one of the only really modern, good sporties I've ever had. And it was easy to drive, so it worked out well.
Yeah. Actually, I was looking at the scores and I was thinking that maybe there's nothing in between 19 and 23 worlds, but then I found these and I remembered that maybe this was the first like proper event that Nabil was arranging back then. And
yeah, I think so.
but
He has a group out in California that do some really good work. That you get.
Yeah,
it feels a lot like the old events where it's organized really well. There's there's some obviously money in it, which is really cool, but just the overall flow of the events is really good.
But yeah, this is funny thing. A few weeks ago, when you were running at the nationals, and you did not win the pro national championship, and I was absolutely sure that you have not done so still. But then I found these, and you have won the championship in pro. You have done it in 2022, so
yeah. So
I was thinking that's you are always the second and you never get the first one. But
I think I've been in about every spot now.
Yeah, more or less. Lots of second places at least.
Yeah, I feel like so many of those were winnable if not for. I mean, obviously anyone can say it, but I was there and either had a little mistake throughout the day or I was just so far behind that I drove well and made up a ton of points in a shootout. But it's funny to look back on how close I've been so many times now.
Yeah, and always in the finals. Always.
Yeah, I feel good about that. That's my goal for the weekends. If I wanted to win, but if I make it into the, I get to drive the shootout in front of everybody and have a big kind of send off is always the goal.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, that was 2022. Do you remember any special occasions from that weekend?
So that one was a pretty neat event because I had planned on proposing. So I had, been single for a while. The dates worked out really good. My number has always been number 22, which was from the old 1-to-1 with my dad and I. And the event was on the 22nd. So I drove the events. Actually, I should have sent a picture. I ran up into the rocks. I had made a little ring carrier and I poured a couple glasses of her favorite, of Willa's favorite scotch, and led her up there for some dumb reason to see the sunset or whatever. And she came around the corner and there's this little display with some drinks poured and everything and popped the question. So it was a pretty memorable event for everything else outside of driving.
Yeah, that's really cool. That's special.
It doesn't hurt to have won the same time and kind of made it an extra special day, which was neat.
Yeah, good point. So, 2022. What do we have? Nothing much more, I don't think. This was the year that everything was sort of getting back to normal again.
Yeah, that felt like an old event where we had, a lot of people. It was coming out of all the craziness with COVID, and it felt like seeing, especially for me, I hadn't driven a nationals in about 5 years then, so it was neat to come back and see. See friends that I really hadn't seen in quite a while.
Yeah. And the next year, there were the Worlds. Next year or last year, as we speak now. The Worlds in Maine. How do you say Maine?
Maine.
Yeah. Okay. Really fun weekend. I remember flying there. Have not been in the States since the Rhode Island in 2014, and everybody was still the same as they were 10 years before. It's crazy how time flies, but nothing kind of changes.
Yeah, because I feel like we stayed up way too late with too many drinks the night afterwards in Rhode Island, and 10 years before that too.
Oh yeah. It was that was special night. Were you guys in Rhode Island? Were you sleeping on that motel where we were drinking, or were you sleeping somewhere else?
We were there. I don't know if I was directly in front of us or the top. I may have been the floor above it, but we were right around where we were.
Oh, okay. So
I remember losing a cell phone, and I don't know. It was a good time.
I broke my cell phone, and I was quite drunk afterwards. And the next day was not so good, but yeah.
No, I always I almost feel not ashamed. I guess ashamed maybe is the right word doing that. But then looking back on it, for as sick as I felt and how dumb it was later, it was such a good memory that I really couldn't. I wouldn't have done anything different.
All the tequilas in the bar afterwards. The finalists. Oh, if I would do the same now, that's not a good idea. I don't.
Yeah, I don't recover quite as fast as I did when I was 23.
No. Oh no. Yeah. But yeah, Worlds 2023. So I remember we started on Thursday, but you were not there on Thursday, I don't think.
Yeah, I don't have a pro scale yet. I kind of have, or P scale. I have something would probably work for it, but I haven't really ran it yet. I've built a pretty good class 2 scaler that I may have to try that eventually with. But
yeah. And you didn't run mini either, but on Friday we ran in the same group the sporty, and you had the scale sporty.
Yeah, my scale. I just cut the ends off of a scale chassis and took all the interior junk out of it and ran it. It did pretty good. I think I just missed the shootout, but it had done really well all day. I think I ended up 6th or 7th.
6th.
6th, yeah. I think Wyatt just snuck by me at the end of the day.
Yeah. I believe so. And then, pro, it was business as usual. Jake going through the finals. How was your day?
That kind of usual. I had made the very first gate of the day, and it was on a course that I had set with Steve from Australia. And I hit in fact, we moved the first gate to be easier because it was really bad where we first had it. And then I drove right into it. A gate that I had set. Very first one of the day, I struggled. I ran it over. I say it was course 4 or 5, the very end of it. And had a pretty rough course. I missed a bonus. Again, a bonus that I had set myself that looked really cool. I wanted to drive. I ran out of time, but didn't get to do it. So I was a little bit frustrated. So I just went again, tried to get every single point the rest of the day, and didn't quite make up enough points to get back up to Dave.
Yeah. Dave was unbelievable.
Yeah, he drove so well that I can't be ashamed of that. He did awesome.
Yeah, we'll just there is a photo. Very dark photo, but photo nevertheless.
And Zhao, I forgot he was up there in 3rd.
Yeah, he had an amazing day also. The stick man.
Yeah. I tell you, that's if you can do it, it's such a different way to control the car that it's for me, I can never quite do it quickly enough to make it work, but the drivers that can are really, really good.
I was actually loaning a rig from Joao in the Eurocrawl this year in Italy. I was driving with his Mini with his radio, and Mini it's doable because you don't have to control the digs and you just throttle and steer. But moving with the radio, that's the hard part. When you are stepping away, if you have to keep the steering finger just on one spot. And if you do slightest disturbance, the rig can't go anywhere because of Mini is such a, especially nowadays when they are running quite a lot of weight on them. It's such a delicate fine line between if it starts flowing away. But I was 5th driving stick radio with the lone rig, so I could be happy about that. But,
that's pretty good. I don't think I could even get close to getting through a course with a stick these days.
Yeah, nowadays the sticks are smaller, so it's more easy. But still, I wouldn't. For me, it's not. I could not do it. So.
I don't know, something about driving a regular pistol grip radio. It's kind of intuitive after this long that even if it's coming towards you or you're running or whatever, you just kind of instinctively know what to do.
Yeah, exactly. So, the the finals course was challenging, but I think it was really, really nice course because you all made mistakes in different kind of areas. You all took risk in different kind of areas.
Yeah, it was neat watching
it was
the video after. Like we all did something different and all made a mistake somewhere else. That and way different driving styles, kind of to end up in the same place.
And thinking about the rigs also, they were quite different from each other.
Mm-hmm.
Also now in the nationals top 5, it's like you can be good with so different kind of machinery depending where you have been used to nowadays. And yeah, you did not run Super either in the Worlds.
No, I think I just ran the 2.
Yeah. So then we are back to this year. And what bigger events have you done this year?
And that's actually it. That's probably my one weakness this year. Well, one weakness, but my weakness this year is I really haven't ran a lot of events outside of just practicing on my own. And even then, with with the newborn and with kind of the moving jobs and everything, I haven't done a lot of driving. So I felt really good through the whole day, but just didn't quite have the course flow and the time quite right at the end of the day, and it ended up costing me a little bit.
Yeah. I I was looking at the nationals, the finals that Aro was shooting for us, and I was here in New Zealand, and it was convenient for me because it was 11 a.m. So it was good time to watch finals.
That works out good, yeah.
And I was looking at you. I think you started.
Yeah, it was. I guess a bad luck. I had a huge lead, so I had a lot of points to play with. But we did a random draw, and it was not sequestered, and I happened to draw first. So, which I don't mind normally. And if I had driven better, it wouldn't have mattered. But I made a mistake right off the bat. I hit a gate, and then I got behind on time, so I was kind of fighting the course. There were a few gates that really I should have taken. Going first and then fighting it, and then I ran out of time to do some bonuses at the end of the day or end of the course. So the rest of the guys kind of progressively learned from that. And that's still phenomenal drivers. So there was, I was gonna get caught anyways, but I had so many points to play with. I was a little conservative, and then having everybody watch that course, it was, if I had done well, I could have. If I'd driven better, it would have been over. But I left room, and they all figured it out and did really well from there.
Yeah, especially I think it was gate 3 that you were struggling for so long, and nobody made it. Everybody was just straddling straight.
Yeah, I probably wasted. And I had made it done so close to making it that I tried it. In hindsight, if I just ran over it, I could have gone and done a few bonuses. But
but from the looks, at least from the video, it did look doable, kinda.
It was really close.
Yeah.
And there were a few others. Gate 7 on that one, I made a weird line into. By then, I had hit gate 1. I had the cameraman fall down in front of me. That kind of threw me off. I had to take gate 3, and by then I was pretty scrambling. So I tried gate 7 and made a mistake on it. Came back around and just took it. And then even then, I just kind of ran out of time. So I was pretty close to running out at the end.
Yeah, and when you think the two of the bonuses at least were pretty, let's not say easy, but really quickly doable.
They were doable, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So
one of them where there was this crack that looked kind of sketchy, but the other two were pretty easy. From the video, I'm not saying they were easy, but
they definitely weren't bad. Yeah, I think. And having such a big lead going into it, in hindsight, if I had taken 3 and driven safer, I probably would have been in better shape. But I think that was a little bit of I can't blame being rusty because I'd driven a lot, but not really running courses. I didn't really make the best decisions at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And against those guys, there's not much room for John and Wyatt and Mitch, who's driving phenomenal now, and then Ben was a new guy new to the finals. They all drove really well, so
you have to be on your A game.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same in Italy. We had the top 5 before the finals, we were in 24 points from each other. So the qualification courses were really, really good. We all made mistakes in different courses and so on. And there were no rain on that day, but the finals was just simply too easy. And that was quite a shame, because you kind of could have seen it already when you saw the course that this is gonna be negative 70 or something, unless you make a stupid mistake. So yeah, I think it's better that it's too hard than too easy, because then the
after
positions
this
might
year,
not change.
like from a competitor standpoint, I'm disappointed, but from a kind of a fan standpoint, it was such a great course that everybody drove so well that I couldn't be upset with my own performance, because it was awesome to watch everybody do it. Like, I would have loved to have had one of those in hindsight. If I had taken a gate and spent less time on it, I should have been out of that thing with a big lead. But from a fan of the sport, it was cool to see.
Yeah. But it's hard to decide when you are driving there.
For sure.
Quick calls.
And then the luck of the draw going first, which any other time I would love to go first, but I think it cost me a little bit in the end.
Yeah. But the comp area looked fantastic.
It's really cool. Yeah. I've actually been fortunate. I live about 5 minutes from there right now. So it's
really?
That's a really cool place. Yeah.
Yeah. That's an advantage, definitely.
It definitely doesn't
to have
hurt.
that kind of place. Yeah. So what is now when we are in October 2024? What are the plans for the future with RC?
So I really want to take a shot at the overall again after watching Turbo Jimmy the last couple of years just being a phenomenal driver, Mitch with the Super, Wyatt now. I really want to build a couple more cars and try for everything. I'll see how the budget and how life goes with the little one, but I really love to take a shot at nationals, wherever that is next year, and possibly worlds. After driving a ton, I actually snuck in something a little different on the pro this year. I don't know if you even caught it in the finals or not. I have it here. I snuck in a servo winch to the front end. You can actually see the line on the side there. And it's pretty good. So I think I want to do some more work with that, maybe get it somewhere into the axle.
Okay.
Other than that, this car is pretty darn old now. I don't know that I want another one, but it needs some refreshing for sure. Maybe finally moving to a loaded dice style wheel. I actually went to the little Outrunner motors this year from Holmes Hobbies.
Yeah. Which ones do you have?
These are the 380s, the little tiny ones.
2000 kV.
2000 kV.
Yeah.
So I guess after being so close again and not quite the car is fantastic, but I definitely want to make a few little changes looking into next year, and then maybe if time and budget willing, I'll take another shot at a world title.
Yeah, why not?
I mean, it's travel, see our friends, and
yeah. Meet you in the finals.
Right? Yeah. Yeah, it certainly is a little bit what's the word I'm looking for? It's a little bit eye-opening looking back on 15 years of pictures, gathering some stuff to send to you that I've been doing it for so long, but I've made so many good friends out of it that I don't want to stop. So we'll keep going as well as we can.
Yeah, definitely. If you don't mind, we have another toilet break now. I have to go.
Of course, yeah.
30. I tried to make it back in 30 seconds. Let's see.
Run.
Yeah. Not quite.
Not quite.
So yeah, so much beer going through my body. So yeah, next year, do you think has there been discussions about the nationals, possible nationals next year?
Heard a lot yet. I'm not on the committee, but I would assume there'll be something here again. So I think this year, if it follows kind of tradition, it'll be somewhere back east coast of the states. Since maybe. we were Utah this year.
Yeah, I've been wondering why there is nothing in New Mexico, because it seems that there is a lot of drivers coming from there as well.
Yeah, they're actually there's a couple of newer guys. I mean, Christian's been down there and his group. They're awesome. There's a couple newer guys. Garrett down there is a phenomenal driver. Him and his dad have been doing really well. I'd love to see an event down there just because be a new place and new rock, and there's a good amount of drivers over there.
Yeah, I've been wondering about this because they are clearly willing to make big events, but no nationals there yet. So.
Yeah, I think there's kind of a renaissance of new drivers now, and there's a ton of people running scale cars and competition stuff here in Utah. So, and we had the nationals here, but that group has definitely pulled a lot of new people into the sport. So I think there'll be, maybe not here, but somewhere in the West again, there'll be another big event.
Yeah. And the Worlds will be in Portugal, and I can guarantee that that's going to be a good one. Good one, since Joao is making it happen. And
I got that teaser video and immediately started looking at flights and trying to figure out how to go. That'll be really good.
Yeah, and it's really cheap country, and most of the time the weather is excellent, and everything will be happening in one area in the competition, so it should be really nice. Yeah, I'll be there anyways.
Over there. Yeah, I'll definitely try and bring Willa and our little one along probably. So
yeah, that should be good. And what else? Any other ideas for the future?
I'm curious to see what you think. Have we ran out of innovation for the car? Or do you think there's more still to come? Like watching your older cast with Yoshi. Like I knew he had crazy ideas, but I never knew the depth of some of the stuff that he was really out of the box. And I think there's probably room to see more of, maybe not necessarily that same type of thing, but I'm curious to see what you think of the kind of the next step is for the competition car.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I think there are probably too many guys that are willing to run the safe path, like doing what everybody else is doing. There is not enough innovators at the moment to do something widely
good
different.
And bad with like the deluxe guys having fully built cars that are pretty good now, and they do a lot of really nice stuff. But I don't know that it's you still have to put a lot more work in beyond that to get break into the top 10 or top 5.
Yeah, especially driving wise.
Yeah, it's you got to make up for a lot of years of experience.
Yeah, I have one stick chassis that is custom made in the closet. Maybe it could be something that I would do, but now when I'm investing so much for the 1-to-1 off-road, I'm probably not doing anything for this or next season, but it's there waiting for the motivation and ideas.
The right time.
I'm not your innovator guy, so I think it's probably somebody else's task to do. And actually Yoshi was contacting me that he wants to come over to Europe also to drive.
That would be really cool. Yeah.
Maybe he has something new, stupid ideas coming through the 3D printer. So it'll be interesting to see. Yeah. So we have some questions.
Yeah.
Let's see. There is at least one. Now you can, all of the 7 guys who are watching, you can send the questions if you want. So there's one. What is your all-time favorite comp spot in the US?
And that is a tough question. I would say I really like Watson Lake in Prescott in Arizona. It's a toss-up with Pioneer Park in Utah on the Red Rock, and probably Cougar Buttes in California, just for the atmosphere, the memories are going there forever. But if I had to pick one spot, out of anything, probably Watson Lake.
Yeah, that's a good answer.
It's pretty. It's a lake. It's and then the town is really cool. It's fun to go, and just the whole atmosphere is really neat.
For me, I know the question was not to me, but I want to say that the location that the Worlds of 2027 will be in Australia, in East Coast, that's gonna be right up there. It looks amazing.
So I haven't heard that one yet. That's definitely would go on my list if we could make it happen.
Yeah, I think if we continue like we have done this far, of course I'm not in the committee anymore, so I'm not in charge. But to go every 2 years in Europe, Australia, US, so in 2 years it would be in Australia, and Steve already talked about the place. So it's crazy. It's absolutely amazing. So I want to go there.
It sounds like the next adventure then, I guess, here maybe in a few years.
Yeah. Next one. No. Oh, go figure.
I'm not really sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, there is another one. Look at that.
It gets better. I drive a lot, but I think I get the most out of kind of focused driving. So what I end up doing, I'll take just one set of gates, half tennis balls, and I'll go out, and instead of running for 4 hours, I might run for 20 minutes, but I'll put down a few really hard gates and run, try it and try it. The other thing would be with the truck itself, try to be really aware of what's happening if your rod ends are tight, if you've got a shock that's blown out, like kind of paying attention to stuff, because every little thing matters on the truck. They're so light anyway. Just kind of paying attention to every little detail, even if you run a pack and then clean the truck up, check the shocks, check the rod ends, and see what happens. Just make sure it's all consistent, because otherwise it's really hard to learn if it's constantly something's wrong.
Yeah. And when you are training, you said you are building a tough gate. Are you like trying as long as you make the gate and then make the next one? Or are you trying after you have done it for the first time? Are you trying for the second time? That because I'm doing, for example, here in New Zealand, I have been driving and making a tricky gate. I might drive 20 times without getting through it. And then I find the way, went for the first time, and then I need to do it the same again twice in a row, and then I know that is the way. Do you do these kind of things?
Yeah, I do kind of the same thing. I'll take a couple different attempts and figure out how to make it. And then a lot of times the other thing I will do is I will come into it from a bad angle. Like I'll figure out the right way, then I'll try like my second or third option, if I approach it from a different angle, because it's try to get a different example than the perfect line into it. So if I slid off and have to make it, from falling into the hole versus driving over it or something, I'll kind of take a different approach and try 2 or 3 different ways and figure out, can I make it this way? And I'll even half the time I'll turn around and come back down it or come across it the opposite way.
Yeah, and if you roll over during the practice, do you drive the rig up or do you just lift it up?
I mostly lift it up. Once in a while, I'll drive kind of abusive just to figure out how to to make sure it'll still work. But I'm pretty gentle in practice, and I'm anything but. In competition, it has to survive. Do what you have to do.
Yeah, Yeah, because this is something that most of the guys do. That they fold the rig over and then they just lift it back. They never train to drive on the roof, and that's a big problem in the competitions because some of the guys are so stubborn that they don't want to do the rollover, and they are losing 2 minutes driving upside down, not knowing what the hell they are doing.
Mm-hmm.
So that's my advice for somebody who is starting to drive. Just learn how to flip it over against the rock if you don't want to do a rollover. So don't use stupid amounts of time driving upside down front and back when you have no idea what you are doing. I usually drive it up. Yeah, I usually drive it up when I'm training. So that's training as well, basically. Okay. So no more questions here. People are sleeping or working or whatever. I know Europeans would have been asking questions, but the time is not ideal. It's 6:15 in Finland a.m. So yeah,
it's a little after 10 p.m. here. So
yeah, and New Zealand, we are at 5 p.m. Yeah, on the next day. So we are in the future, basically.
All right, it's Sunday evening now. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, anything else to add?
Yeah, I think that that covers it for now. I'm looking forward to, I've driven quite a bit here, at least by myself. So I'm kind of take a little bit of time off for the winter and probably start reevaluating building some trucks here after the holidays and get ready for, I guess, maybe Worlds this coming year.
Yeah, that sounds good. And oh, new comments. Let's see. I see so many people just pin the throttle upside down and start hitting the gates. Exactly.
That's one way to go. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm thinking that I'm doing these conventional interviews, but I would like to add like a third person to the conversation sometimes, and we could make a stream talking about one thing. So maybe that's for the future, and I will ask you again if you are willing to discuss at some point.
That would be fun, and pick strategy or suspension or something.
Yeah, something like
that'd
this.
be a lot of fun.
And add all the commentators also. That should be good times. But this was a nice little piece of history. Not a little piece. 2 hours and 17 minutes.
Oh man, yeah, I had fun going back through all my old pictures and seeing some of that stuff, and I think a few of those are probably just about never before seen from those cars that were, almost 20 years ago now.
Yeah, it's so good to see old stuff, especially from you guys, and yeah, I hope I can get, as we spoke, I hope I can get Brian Parker, because he has been in the game even longer now.
Oh, that would be a good one. Yeah.
There's another comment. Now they are starting to come. Have you ever been to Disney Oklahoma for Crappalooza? Thoughts on the rocks compared to other spots?
So I've never been to Crawlapalooza. I ran nationals there in 2010, and I had a really awful weekend. I have a kind of a bad black cloud over that event, even though I don't think it was anything to do with the rocks. I remember it being really unique, that kind of weird corally rock. I want to go back, but I had just such a rough weekend for everything outside of the event that I have kind of negative memories of it. But it was a cool place. It was a really neat location. So I thought about going back. I actually just saw that. I was watching the coverage for Crawlapalooza the last few weeks, and thinking I got to try it again.
Yeah, why not? And then okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
And one more.
Hey, glad I could help.
Yeah, exactly. let's say especially you have been an inspiration for many drivers throughout the years. So it was good to have this discussion with you and see all the pictures and all the stories. I bet there are plenty of stories more.
Oh, there's
if you
so many
dig
more.
deep,
We could do a whole weekend on this. But yeah, it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah.
It's kind of mind blowing to think like you saw the pictures. I started out building a car on my desk and reading Pirate 4x4 and RC Crawler. To think that there's people all over the place that have taken kind of what I did and learned from it and have kind of held that to a high standard. So that makes me feel really kind of proud of what I've done over the years. And it's neat to keep going and still meet new people that have been watching these videos that know my builds from 10 years ago or more.
Yeah. And one other idea, because we were having this beer, not so much beer this time, but we could have a proper beer stream at some point that takes Joao, takes Steve.
We got to get Joao in there. Yeah, how many continents can we line up here?
Yeah, we have to do it. We have a long winter ahead of us. We have to plan it.
I'm there. Just let me know. It'll be a good time.
Yeah. But okay, I think I'm going to continue the day. We have to go to a restaurant to get a few beers. Continue the day. So yeah, it was good to see you, and hopefully we will see you in Portugal, or if not there, somewhere else.
Then. Yeah, I think it is definitely on our list. So if it's all possible, we'll be there.
Yeah, that's good. So on my behalf, thanks to Jake, and thanks for everybody who was watching, and we will have the next guest in next month, somebody from Europe, presumably. I have not talked about it yet, but I will figure something out. Thanks to Jake and everybody.
Yeah, thank you, Samu. Thanks for everybody watching along.
Yeah. See you soon.
Yeah.
Bye.